Tennessee WildCast is live on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hey, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We're glad y'all are tuning in. Going to have a great show today for you. It's all about turkey. It's not turkey season, but we want to recap the past season and find out information on how the herds are doing, or the flocks, I guess, for turkey. And we got the expert here. You know, I'm not the expert.
Heard those flocks. Yeah,
heard those flocks. We've got the expert with us today, Mr. Roger Shields. He's our new Wild Turkey Program Coordinator, and we are glad he's here. And I also have Mr. Don King with me.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Appreciate the invite. Looking forward to learning a lot from Roger today.
Yeah, he's the expert in the room, so we're going to turn to him for all the answers.
Hopefully I'll have some for you.
Yeah. He's new to the agency, and we're going to learn a little bit about him, and we're glad he's with us, and I look forward to this show because I'm going to learn a few things.
Yeah. New to Tennessee, too, I understand.
Yep. So, well, let's jump into it, and we're going to start with Meet Roger. We could maybe start a new segment, Meet Roger.
Yeah. All right.
And there's a couple of Rogers in the wildlife program upstairs, but this is Roger Shields. He's the Wild Turkey Program Coordinator for the agency now. And Roger, tell us about yourself. How were you introduced to the outdoors, and what got you into this field? What brought you towards the outdoors?
Well, I guess, I grew up out. I'm from Kansas originally. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
I say my dad kind of had a hobby farm, right? He worked in town, but his hobby was raising cows. And so we lived out in the country, and I just always loved being outdoors, just being outside. We had horses and cows and lived on 20 acres. And I guess I got it from my parents, my mom always liked being outside and seeing wildlife. My dad liked, he always wanted to be a cowboy, really. And so we just kind of grew up outside, and not really from a hunting family per se, but just enjoyed being outdoors. Well, to answer your question, how I got into wildlife, I actually didn't start out in wildlife, even though I loved the outdoors. I started off, I was going to study engineering. And somewhere along the way, I got thinking about things, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that. And so I kind of backpedaled and started thinking, well, what do I want to do? And started exploring this is when I was in college, and I started looking into different majors. And I saw this one. I had no idea what it was about, wildlife management. And I was looking at the curriculum. Well, that's pretty interesting. And went and talked to one of the professors, and he said, well, I'll tell you what, just take this intro to wildlife management, 1 credit. We meet once a week for an hour. Just kind of expose you to this whole field. And I tell you, for a kid that had grown up watching Marty Stauffer's Wild America and Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom, I mean, the things we were talking about, it was just hitting home. And I was like, man, this is what I want to do. And so I just switched majors and got into it. And that's, I guess they say the rest is history. But,
So you didn't really grow up hunting and fishing, or did you? When was the first time you went out in the woods and went hunting?
Yeah, so like I said, none of my immediate family hunts.
Right.
And so we were more like, hikers and backpackers and camping and that kind of a thing, and riding horses and that kind of stuff. And it was when I was in grad school, actually. I had, in undergrad, a couple good friends. They would go hunting all the time. And they kind of piqued my interest. I'd see them going out and doing stuff, and I'm like, I need to, I want to go. But I didn't want to just barge in on their thing, So I just kind of sat back and watched. So then when I got into grad school, another colleague, another grad student that was working with the same major advisor, he started inviting me to go out. So we went duck hunting, goose hunting, that kind of thing. And then so in graduate school, is when I started studying wild turkeys. And when I finished up in grad school, I got a job down in Florida, and then the guy that hired me, my supervisor, he kind of became another mentor for me, and he took me under his wing, started showing me how to hunt turkeys.
Neat.
So
no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I got into turkey hunting.
Awesome.
There is a learning curve, isn't there? I mean, you
I'm
talked
still in
about,
it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, me too.
Every day, you see your buddies going out, and you're thinking, man, I'm really far behind in the education process as far as the hunting side of it goes. And so that's great that you were able to connect with somebody who could take you under their wing and show you how to get started and how to whet your appetite with that anyway. So,
and when we talk about hunter recruitment and stuff, and
right,
and nothing against any of the work that we're doing with the youth, I mean, it's wonderful. But as one who was exposed to hunting later in life,
right.
I always am like beating that drum. Let's not forget about the folks that are adults that might be interested in hunting, because a lot of times, they're like me. They're interested in it, but they don't even know where to begin. And it really takes somebody to say, "Hey, come with me. Let me show you how this is done." So,
and there is a new thing that we've been talking about called R3: recruitment, retention, and reactivation. That is going to be really important with our agency moving forward, since we're so dependent on license sales. To continue to do our work. That unless we recruit a new generation of folks that are interested in and that feel that passion, it's going to be tough for us moving forward. So I know Jennifer Wisniewski is doing a lot of work toward that end, and we're all, I mean, everything we do, especially with this program, is aimed really ultimately at that R3 effort to recruit folks. So that's interesting to hear your background there, Roger.
Yeah. And I'm sure people may be wondering, where'd you study? You mentioned grad school. Where'd you study?
Oh, so I did undergraduate school at Brigham Young University in Utah, and then, like I said, I got done there, and I knew I wanted to get a master's. Ended up at South Dakota State University.
Okay.
And
then they brought you to Florida, I guess. Is that where you started out?
Yeah.
Cool.
Right out of college, out of grad school. My major advisor at the time, he said, "Hey, I see this advertisement for a turkey biologist down in Florida." He said, "I don't think you're qualified. I don't think you really have much of a chance, but you'll probably get an interview anyway, given your background. Having studied, done your graduate work on them." He said,
good experience.
and that's what he said. Yeah, it'd be great experience to go through the interview process and just kind of get that under your belt. And so I applied and had the interview, and actually, I applied and spoke to the hiring manager, and things were sounding good. And then he called me back and he said, "I got bad news. They're not letting me interview you because you don't have the experience that's required." And I was like, well, I kind of expected that was going to be the case. So, I appreciate it. He calls me back like 2 weeks later and he says, "Hey, you still interested in this job?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, they decided that they could count your graduate work as experience.
Oh, wow.
And so if you're still interested, we want to hire you or interview you."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah. So went down and it just fell into place.
That's
awesome.
It was good. That's awesome. And then you had the bug to find some mountains and some some areas in Tennessee to live, so you moved here.
Yeah, we were just talking before the show here about how, Florida has beautiful beaches, and it does, but even though I grew up in Kansas, I'm a mountain boy, you know. I love the mountains. We used to go vacation in the Rockies just about every summer.
Right, yeah.
I have an uncle that lives out in Utah, and we'd go and visit him and go riding horses in the mountains.
Wow.
And my wife's from South Carolina, so when we go visit her family, we'd go up to the Appalachians and hike and camp. And yeah, so when we got out of school, we were in Florida, but we started looking at the map and we were like, where would we really like to, where could we really could pick where we wanted to be, where would it be? And just looking at the map, I'm from Kansas, she's from South Carolina, I love the mountains. It was like, well, either western North Carolina or eastern Tennessee would be where we'd want to, settle. And it just took me like 18 years to get here.
Well, we're glad you're here for sure.
Yeah.
I know the guys upstairs are happy to have you. They all have great things to say about you, and I look forward to working with you throughout the years here at the agency.
Thank you.
Well, let's recap a little bit. The spring 2019 season is wrapped up, and let's talk about the numbers. What were the harvest numbers this spring?
Yeah, so actually up from last year, and quite a bit up. You know, it's about an 11% jump from last year. Still down from kind of when you talk about averages and stuff, a 5-year average, or sometimes you look at a 15-year trend. But 31,000 birds plus. That's a good direction to be heading compared to, like I said, the year before, which was down quite a bit from 2 years ago. So that's a good thing. I'm looking at those long-term trends, and I feel like, and I've talked to a lot of people about this and trying to get the word out. And again, my thoughts on this, you look at the trajectory that we were in, and starting back when, the early 90s, even before that, when a lot of that restoration work was going on, and the birds exploded, and that's what you typically would see.
Right.
A good explosion, that kind of exponential growth. And we saw that here in Tennessee. And then as they start to fill the state, both because they're doing well reproductively and we're still stocking and releasing and kind of putting birds in new areas. So those numbers are growing and expanding. But you reach a point where you kind of saturate things, right? And they call that a carrying capacity. I feel like we had reached that carrying capacity somewhere in that, and it wasn't just here in Tennessee. It was throughout the everywhere, southeast,
kind of a trend.
and even into a lot of the eastern half of the United States, because all the states were actively involved in restoration work and doing the same thing basically at the same time. Some states were a little ahead of others, but in the southeast, we were seeing a lot of states were seeing these kind of topping out and starting to decline, and that was all hitting right in around the mid 2000s. And so, Tennessee's no different. If you look at the track of harvest, it increases till 2000, and then it starts to slow down. Kind of had a peak in about 2010, and then we've kind of been on a decline since then, with some jumps up and down here and there. But I think in the big picture of where we're at in Tennessee, I do believe we're kind of trying to find where that happy, stable. So I say stable in air quotes, because turkey populations, by their very nature, are not a stable number. That you have boom years of reproduction, and you have bust years, and you have a couple bust years, and your numbers are going to go down, and you have a boom year, and your numbers are going to jump way back up.
Right.
So there's going to be always that up and down fluctuation. It's never going to be just a real fine, steady line. And but I think that's where we're trying to get back to, is some kind of more stable situation.
The hunter efforts and weather and all kinds of different factors play into all these numbers too.
Especially when you look at harvest. So
yeah. And so I guess from hearing what you're saying, is it what we expected? Are you impressed with the numbers? I mean, it sounds like you think it's kind of settling out.
I can't predict the future by any means, but I do feel like we're starting to get to where we're more, that we may see a little bit more decline. And again, I'm talking holistically here.
Right.
There's going to be little pockets that maybe have things going on. I think we'll talk about a little bit more some of these pockets maybe. But, looking at the big picture, I think we're kind of coming into a more stable situation. And I think that's what we were expecting. So,
Cool. And I had here, we hear the numbers are down. Is this true, and does it depend on the area? And I guess you probably just pretty much answered that. There's some areas that might have a decline and a few pockets that need more attention, I guess.
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but, the Middle Tennessee, and there's something certainly going on there, because the decline was a little bit more severe than in other parts of the state. And as you look across the southeast again, you kind of see that there's certain areas that just have had a lot steeper decline than other areas, even kind of state by state. And so, clearly there's some things going on in addition to just that natural correction.
Right.
And just trying to identify what those things are is that's the $1 million question. So.
Okay. Well, why don't we jump to a different segment here real quick?
Why not?
Before we get into this Middle Tennessee study.
Oh, yeah.
Get your questions answered. TWRA Q&A.
right, that's a Q&A music, and we hadn't done a Q&A in a while.
TWRA female singers.
Yeah, they do a great job. We wanted to hit on a few things that's going on. Getting a lot of calls on the elk raffle and the quota hunt application time, and want to give people an update on what's going on there. So
yeah, TWRF.net. That is the place to go to get involved in the raffle, the elk raffle. TWRF.net, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Foundation is what that stands for. And you can read all about all the details, but give us a couple of highlights there, Jason.
So the elk raffle is going on. We did this last year. It was very successful, so we're doing it again this year. It's $20 a chance, or you can get 3 chances for $50 or 10 chances for $100. So the price goes down as you get more chances there. And it ends at 11:59 on August 2nd. That's the last last minute you can buy a chance. And there's 5 ways to win. There's the big prize, the hunting trip, hunting elk hunt, and then the route. You win a rifle and a chance to be on the Best of the West production. They'll film the hunt and put it on there as a segment on TV. So that's pretty cool. And then from there down, Polaris Ranger is a second place prize. Gift cards from Cabela and Bass Pro is third place. A night muzzleloader is fourth, and the fifth draw will win a bunch of hunting gear. So
that Polaris Ranger, I've heard some people say, "Man, I hope I get second."
Yeah, it's an awesome chance just to win that. It's worth putting in a few dollars for an opportunity to win that Polaris Ranger.
Our foundation has really stepped up the prizes that go along in conjunction with the hunt. I mean, that's the golden opportunity there to be a part of this hunt. And as you said, it's been really successful. Last year was the first year we were able to do this raffle, and the dollars go to help perpetuate the elk program in Tennessee. So it's
all goes right back into that program.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. And so anyway, before for several years before, the commission had allowed us to do an elk tag that we would auction, an online auction, and this has worked out way better as far as helping raise money for the program. Right. So kudos to TWRF for helping put this thing on.
And then there's also the quota hunt application period coming up June 19th through midnight of July 24th, and you can apply for elk tags through that. And also there's 15 tags, I think, for the season or something like that. Just check that application. It's on our website, and that starts on June 19th. But you can apply for your favorite WMAs and try to get in there and get one of those quota hunt opportunities.
That's right.
And the youth tag for the elk, and there's a lot of opportunities out there. So I think that wraps up the Q&A time. We get those questions on Facebook. We get questions, calls in here to the office. So if you got questions and you want us to answer them on the show, send them my way. Send them to Ask TWRA. Or
exactly.
Ask TWRA at tn.gov, and we'll try to answer those for you.
All right.
So back to it. The Middle Tennessee Turkey Study. It's been going on for a while. Give us a quick overview, Roger, of what that study is, what they're doing down there.
So this is the third of basically 5 years of field work. It started, I guess, 2016, 2017 was when they started trapping. And the goal of this research is to get information, get data on the vital rates, those reproductive parameters and survival rates of the population down in Middle Tennessee. There's 5 counties that we're looking at. Lincoln, Lawrence, Giles are the 3 that were in pretty steep decline, and trying to identify what was going on there. And then we included Murray and Bedford as kind of it was originally designed to be kind of the control counties, things that were normal. And since then, I think Bedford has kind of started to see a little bit steeper decline too. Anyway, again, just trying to document, get all the data we can, collect as much as we can, and they are collecting a boatload of data. Everything from adult survival, both gobblers and hens, nesting rates, nesting success rates, poult survival, habitat use, habitat at the nest sites. They're collecting information on, disease monitoring, hunter effort, hunter opinion, hunter attitude, gobbling information. I mean,
wow,
just about everything. And we're, like I said, we're about at the midpoint right now. So.
And you say it's in conjunction with us and who else?
Yeah, the University of Tennessee, Knoxville is who we're working with on that. And they've got one graduate student that's just finishing up, and then another one just starting. They're kind of they're handing off the baton, so to speak. And so, like I said, just kind of right in the middle of it. We're getting some preliminary data from this first graduate student as he finishes up his thesis. He's doing some work looking at the nesting behavior and nesting ecology, and then the full study and all the analysis will be done by the second graduate student, who's a PhD student, at the conclusion of it. But they're staying on target in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. They're keeping about 100 birds, both 100 hens and 100 gobblers on air, transmitted.
Okay.
And I was out with them tail end of last week. They're out trapping poults, which was kind of cool, getting out there and helping them with that. And they're another component they're adding this year is habitat manipulation. So they're wanting to go in there and do some site-specific habitat management, if you will.
Okay.
See if they can improve the conditions on the ground that would maybe translate to better survival of poults. And ultimately, reproductive productivity and the numbers of birds out there. So they're just kicking that off. That'll be kind of these last 3 years of that work.
Okay.
Is that a factor? You think that's a factor in some of the decline that those folks are seeing down there? You think the habitat is an issue, or it's just one of the factors they're studying? I guess
it's one they're looking at. Yeah. There's improvements that can always be made on the ground.
Right.
Whether
Anywhere.
it's timber, forest land, grasslands, whatever.
Right.
And so if I guess it's like, we have these ideas. They want to really measure, if you do this work, does it actually translate? Because we don't want to be telling people do this if it doesn't really help out. So.
Right. I bet when all this data starts coming in, and it has already, I'm sure your engineering background comes into.
I wasn't in engineering very long, so.
But there's some math involved.
Yes,
I've seen you guys. When you're dealing with a species specific, especially like this, and you're looking at the numbers and there's just so much to consider, and there's a lot to it, and you guys look at a lot of spreadsheets along with going out on the ground,
which is why we're contracting with the universities. A lot of modeling going on there.
It's good experience for them too.
Yes.
Gets a lot of good hands-on for them. Maybe see some future Wildlife Resources Agency biologists.
Yeah,
you never know. Well, and there was also got an email from you the other day, and I think a lot of folks did. Hey, we need some help with our annual turkey survey. Tell us what that's about. What's the annual turkey survey? I guess a statewide.
The agency has been for 20 years plus probably conducting a summer turkey sighting survey is basically what it is. So some people call it like a brood survey, but we expand it beyond just brood. So staff, employees are out, and it traditionally had been our biologists and law enforcement officers the folks are out in the field driving around doing their work outside. When they'd see a turkey, they'd record what they saw. Whether it was a gobbler with a hen or two hens by themselves, or a hen with some poults. Whatever they see, they write it down, and we just run that from June 1st through the end of August. And I was just reaching out to folks here in the office to see if they had interest in participating in that. So.
I need to recruit my wife for this because she has to stop regularly on her route to work for a parade of a flock of turkeys that'll walk across the road.
Not a herd, right? Flock.
No.
Well, I'll volunteer right now. I saw 2 gobblers this morning.
All right.
And a couple of hens, and then I see this same hen every morning coming to work. And she has to get out of the road. She just stands right in the middle of the road and doesn't care if I drive by or whatever. But anyway, so you can you can put that in your survey.
All right.
I volunteered.
They can be creatures of habit, can't they?
Oh, and they get very used to seeing people when they're not being pursued by them.
Right.
And it leads to problems in a lot of cities if you're paying attention to the news articles ever. Just about every big city around the eastern part of the U.S. Is dealing with some form or fashion of, nuisance turkeys. So,
really?
Yeah, it can become a problem if you don't keep them wild.
Yeah, I never thought about that, turkey being a nuisance, but I do see some turkeys regularly, feeding around this chicken coop, and I wonder if they're wild or free or farm birds, but they look to be wild.
Yeah, when I'm referring to nuisance, I'm talking like in city limits and things where they're getting in around parking lots and slowing up traffic and just creating congestion and difficulties for folks. So,
gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, when it comes to these summer surveys, do you look for help from the public, or is it mainly just in-house folks?
We've been doing it in-house, and that's something I want to look into. Again, some more data analysis stuff. I want to look at, we've got this graduate student working down here in Middle Tennessee and collecting a lot of information about brood survival. Well, we also are doing this brood survey. I'd like to compare the two and see how accurate our brood surveys are, the summer surveys, in comparison to what they're coming up with, and just kind of make sure that, again, that the data we collect statewide is somewhat accurate, is close to accurate.
Cool.
And then if it is, I'd like to probably try and expand that a little bit, so get more people involved in it. So down the road, it may be that we expand it to the general public and be out there, asking folks to look for turkeys and report them when they see them.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Hang on.
Especially the folks that live out in the country, they're going to see them riding around, going to work and stuff. So, well, Roger, we're going to run out of time. Is there anything else you want to hit on before we close out here? We got a couple minutes.
Boy, I
think you
glad to be here and excited to be in Tennessee and have all the support from everybody that I've been seeing. So it's wonderful. Thank you.
You impressed me. We got to that Middle Tennessee study. He rattled off those counties like it was nobody's
Oh, man,
business.
I know it.
So
I was going, man, I'm glad I didn't have to do that.
Lincoln and whatnot. So anyway, great to have you on board, and look forward to working with you in the future. And thanks for being on this edition of WildCast.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
We'll have you back, and I'm sure the folks out there listening and watching would love to have you back every so often and learn more about turkeys.
Welcome to Tennessee.
Thanks.
So anyway, hey, don't forget, we were going to mention that the fishing lakes are open. We just got past Free Fishing Day and Free Fishing Week, but hey, there's still opportunities out there on our family
fishing lakes, and a lot of summer left to get out there and enjoy a beautiful day on the water, and plenty of great bank fishing and fishing piers that are just begging people to come out there and make use of them. So
that's page 22 of the fishing guide if you want to learn more about that, or tnwildlife.org. And hey, we're on Google Play, Google Podcast. You can find Tennessee WildCast there now. So if you're a Google user and you like to Google, go find us on Google. All right. We thank everybody for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time on Tennessee WildCast.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.